Thank you. Very excited. We knew there was a good fit because we see those same trends, mobile, real-time, social web. I want to go into each one of those and talk about how we think we've solved that problem with Glympse. The whole goal with Glympse is to let you share your location and solve the two big problems, and that is ease of use and privacy associated with it. So Glympse is a mobile application. You download the phone. We don't have to worry about a critical mass problem because you could be the only person in the world with that phone, with our application on it, and it's instantly usable. There's no password, there's no sign up. Just pick a person you want to send a Glympse to, hit send, it'll go to their email or to their text messaging, and they'll have a link that they can click on and follow your exact location for a set amount of time. So privacy is not an issue. There's no network to sign up, make friends with, dissolve, but it allows you to show your location in situations, because we think location sharing is a situational event that nobody's really solved yet. So it's real time. When somebody gets that link, be it on their desktop, on a phone with our application, or just a phone that has internet access, they'll be able to click on it, see your real-time location, refresh it, and get your up-to-the-second location up until the time limit when the Glympse expires and dies off. And then Glympse is what I call the frictionless social web. What's the biggest social network in the world? Everybody says Facebook. No, it's really big. It's not as big as your phone book. It's not as big as the email address space. We think you should be able to share your location as broadly or specifically as you want. A specific phone number, a specific email, or if you want to go public, you can send a Glympse to Twitter, or you can send a Glympse to Facebook. Again, with just a couple key taps. If you send it to Facebook, it'll expand inline. You can see real-time location sharing, again, for exact amount of time that you wanted to share it with. So for location to really hit the mass market, we feel that anybody has to be able to use it. It has to be as easy as sending a text message, and it has to have no privacy constraints. So we don't have to deal with the reminders and the back and forth of privacy because it's built into the application. We looked at the time element, and that makes it transactional, and that means that you can use it with your closest friend or a distant stranger or a taxi cab driver or anybody to solve these everyday situations that we all hit multiple times a day of how do I share my location with somebody else in a rich, visual, interactive way.
All right.
All right. Why don't you come over here and have a seat and let's grill you a little bit.
So, Bryan, we're going to start with the question that Tim and I really wanted to get into. When I saw this application, put it on my phone, used it, I said, this is Latitude done right. Okay. Most of you probably know Latitude is a feature inside Google Maps where you can broadcast your location. Unfortunately, you're broadcasting your location all the time, and it's a huge privacy issue. You fix that problem by giving a time decay and making it, I'm sharing it with my wife right now for the next 30 minutes. I think it's a fantastic insight, but probably not that hard for Google to copy. They could probably add this feature Latitude very quickly. How do you think about that risk to your business?
It's a very good point. And it came to a point you mentioned, I think, yesterday at the keynote. You have to build your product for where things are going to be by the time you ship. So there's a technical aspect of Latitude and other folks out there. Wow, I can share location with my phone. We wanted to fast forward ahead to what's that nugget that makes it mass market and approachable. We predicted Google would do what they did, and I think they will continue to, because if you look at what Google and maybe Looped and Facebook, these guys are in a battle to create the largest closed social network that they can, and that's where they get their value from. I'm ex-Microsoft, and that's where they got their value from. And so they want to solve it by making it part of the advantage of being in the Google network with your Google account, is that we've got a bigger user base than the competitors. And so we have this ability to kind of zig and zag and be much more open, work across all handsets, work across different social networks that we don't have to compete head-to-head with. So my prediction is Google's going to continue to go down the path that they're going down. We're going to continue to innovate, move on other phones, add new features into the existing phones, and not have to have this problem of if your only tool is a hammer, all your problems look like nails. So I think there'll be
I don't know, though. I just want to be a little bit push back on that. And I had this same sort of conversation with SaneBox. And by the way, I love SaneBox, and I'm really eager to try it and see if it does, in fact, work better than Priority Inbox, as you guys say it does. And you said that you have people who are coming back. But you don't have to be the best if you have massive market share. There's company after company that went up against Microsoft with an arguably better product. But, you're attacking uphill. Sort of like if Google Maps is on all these phones, and they add Glimpse-like features.
It's a fair point,
but you've got actually somebody has got to download, adopt, and
yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the nice things about the mobile ecosystem is it's a very schismed feature of you have a lot of 800-pound gorillas, from the OS to the hardware to the social networks to the mapping technology companies. And Google has large shares in each of those, but you'll find that there's a lot of very willing partners that allow us to do things that Google couldn't do. Microsoft did very well at squashing of having larger market share than other companies and leveraging that. But then they got to a point where people didn't want to partner with those guys.
No, I understand. That kind of gets us, though, to the question there. So let's assume that there's this huge consumer adoption of your product. How do you get paid? How do you make your money?
There's a couple.
Because, of course, that's where partnerships really happen around mutual value to both players.
Absolutely. So we've really got a two-pronged approach with what we're doing. We have the application which shows off the technology, and that leads to our viral adoption that we've got out there, because you send a glimpse, the receiver doesn't know who we are maybe, they click on it, they're experiencing it, they can download it. So we have that viral adoption piece of the application. But we've also, and being ex-Microsoft, we have this build on a platform API that for these partners, and this is what's so fun. I present there, and everybody that comes has a different idea of how they would like to integrate Glympse into what they're doing. Oh, I've got a car ride-sharing application I'd like. Oh, I'm taking the buses around New York Times Square, and I never know when the next one's coming. If those guys could just send a glimpse for when it shows up, that would be really cool. Oh, there's B2C plays in here. I want to know when the cable guy's coming to my house, or when the UPS guy's delivering, or when the taxi cab guy's coming. So you have a lot of, and to your point of the API piece earlier or yesterday, there's a lot. We have an API programming interface that I think will find itself a lot of scenarios for people to integrate with, and then partnerships that can get the distribution on the scale of a Google.
But you didn't say how you're going to get paid, and I don't think you're going to charge people for access to your API. It didn't sound like that's what you want to do.
Not to the broad consumer market, no, or the kind of the hobbyist developer.
So let's say you've got 1 million people using Glympse every day.
Yeah.
How are you going to make money?
So there's two pieces. One, we'll roll in some of the location context-sensitive advertising, which I think is coming along well. It's not there yet, but I think the trends are very positive. And we have this aspect of being real-time visual maps with a destination. And the nice part is on the receiving side, actually, and we've seen this in our numbers, is when you have an advertisement and you're sitting there waiting for somebody who sent you a glimpse, you've got a much higher click-through rate probability. So I think there's stuff associated with that.
People are sitting there waiting, twiddling their thumbs, waiting.
Looking at your map, watching you move 8 miles an hour, and they're like, they might as well click. So I think there's a play to be made there. And then I think there's a play on a licensing to some of the larger 800-pound gorillas that do want to integrate this technology and differentiate themselves from what else is going on, or play in that space and being able to ride the ways that they monetize it.
So let me ask you another question that has to do with success. One of the things that we've seen with Twitter, with Foursquare, even with Facebook, if you're successful, you've got to run like crazy to keep up with demand. What are the scaling issues around Glympse? Talk to us about sort of the technology back end, and
yeah,
if you're really successful, what demands does it put on your infrastructure? What do you have to build for that?
It's pretty large, and it was something we took a deep breath about when we jumped in, because it is partly a technology play. And I think you'll find it's like Twitter, but more difficult at some levels, because you've created a dynamic, real-time, back-and-forth communication mechanism across things. We spent a lot of time on our server architecture to make it scalable.
So my phone is broadcasting my location every how many seconds?
Whatever. It's adjustable, and we change it, but
Right
at peak time, if somebody's watching you actively and you've got it as your foreground application, about every 7 seconds.
Will it suck down the battery?
It will in that scenario, but we've got some stuff actually that's in the next version that's going to be really cool.
So kind of when you're saying it's like Twitter, only more so. Twitter has raised a lot of money before coming up with a revenue model.
Yeah.
So one of the things you're telling us is this is going to be a fairly high sort of capital investment before we even know whether we're making money.
I'm very upfront about that absolutely this is an investment time. We think what we want Glympse to become is that noun and that verb for all these daily occurrences of sharing your location. We want people to say, oh, send me a glimpse so I can come down when you arrive. Or, hey, kids, I'm coming to pick you up. Here's a glimpse, right? Or I'll meet you at this restaurant, business partner. Here's a glimpse. or I saw your glimpse today. We think that there's an opportunity to kind of grab that market.
With what the kind of infrastructure you have now, how many users can you support?
Right now, we can support about 1 million users.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to have that soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
What do you have now? You said, what, 300,000 was it?
Yeah, just over 300,000.
Yeah, I think this audience here is all going to run out and tell everybody else what a great app you got.
Please do.
You have other questions?
No, I think we probably need to move on. We got.
No, I think this is just for. I hope this is just for this segment.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So we got.
Okay. We got a couple more. Okay,
yeah.
so is your whole distribution strategy word of mouth? Is that the whole thing, or are there anything else you're doing to try to get more distribution in the Android store, in the iPhone store? Do you have any strategy around that?
Yeah, there's a couple things we realized when we launched the company. A, we're not going to create a social network that's bigger than any other social network out there. So we shouldn't have an application that tries to out Facebook or out Looped or out Foursquare. So we want to be generic on that. And then the second piece was, let's take this thing in stages and get larger partners. So we built the prototype on our own dime. Then we went to angels and said, look, here's the prototype, here's what we want to do. We use that money to build the beta and the release product. Now that we have a release product, proof of concept, some scale, it's easier for us to go to these larger partners that can help on the distribution and have that, because the viral aspect I don't think will be our long-term solution.
Yeah, by the way, one of the things that you just illustrated there is a really, really important concept when people are looking for fundraising, which is, what do you accomplish in sort of a stair-step way at each level of funding? Because, particularly these days, you really do want to see that somebody has actually built something, it works. In the old days, you would maybe fund on a plan and an idea. Now you really tend to want to fund on something that's working, and you identify a particular set of problems that, this is what I'm funding now, and you clearly understand that.
Well, I think the way you've done it is the ideal scenario. Bootstrap it to the point where you actually have something you can show an investor, get a little angel money in, use that to get something launched, demonstrate that you've got a real product. You're 300,000 users now. That's a real business. I mean, I'm not saying it's a real business, but you can finance that business.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a real opportunity. Now your next stage is to turn it into a business. Yeah. You've turned it into a product, and now it's to turn it into a business.
Exactly. We wanted to walk into the VCs saying, listen, we've proven out the architecture, we've got our technical chops, we can look at the viral aspect. Now, to your point, if you want to take a ride with us for a while till we achieve those revenues, come along and take the ride.
All right.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Well done.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thanks a lot. All right.